Hey, what's going on, guys and gals? Hey, in this particular video, we're going to be covering snippets with the X and M32 mixers. I want to give a couple quick shout outs, though, before we get into it. Miss Mel Ray asked a question up there in Chris Huff's community. She's also a moderator in my community. I can remember when this young lady asked her first question. She was thrown into the audio engineering world. X32 mixer, didn't know a thing. And she absolutely hit the ground running, jumped in with both feet, and never looked back. And that's going to be the purpose of this video. Now, you can check out some of her work up here on YouTube at the new Braunfels Bible Church. That's who she runs sound for. And they're getting ready to do an Easter play. And kind of using third-party software. And while there's nothing wrong with that, I just wanted to try and help her out with this because it makes me dig deeper into some of these features that personally, as a mixing engineer, I just don't use. Now, up here in Chris's community, like I said, it's behind the mixer. Go up there. I think right now he's 36,000 strong. I'm a moderator in his group as well. Mel is a moderator up here in our group, which is the Behringer X32 rack users. And the second shout out I want to give is to this little sweetie pie right here. Okay. Now, Ellen, I'm probably going to butcher your last name, and I apologize. I'm going to say it's Alverdun, and I apologize, young lady. But the reason I'm bringing her up in this is because she is phenomenal. Okay? To say she's awesome would be disrespectful to this young lady. When she's brilliant, but when she comes to her bass playing, I'm talking Carlos Santana brilliant, Jimi Hendrix, Peter Frampton. Okay, all these old names, all these people that you hear of, this young lady has put the time in to practice her craft. Now, up here on Facebook, you can see she's got almost 250,000 people following her. And over here on her YouTube channel, she's got a little over 200,000 subscribers. Okay? Now, what do these two young ladies have in common with each other? They don't give up. They literally practice their trade. Now, if you want to be a better sound engineer, then you need to put the time in. And that's where you're going to reap your reward. Okay? So let's go ahead and let's jump down into X32 Edit. And let's look at a Easter play coming up. And we're going to learn how to do all of this using snippets and then running the entire show through the DCAs. That's it. 8 faders. Done deal. All right? Okay, guys. So here we are in X32 Edit. Now, before we can even get started on our layout, we need to have a script. And the better your script is, in other words, the better you have something written out on what you want to do, the better and easier it's going to be for you to lay this out using snippets. So let's take a look at the script that Mel Ray sent me. And that's what we're going to base all of this off of, okay? So here we go. This is a simple PDF format. Now in here, this is the name of it, His Story. And you've got the pre-show, you've got lights, and you've got music. Now, we're simply going to be concentrating on the audio part of this. But as you can see right here, this is page 1 of 40. And this is going to go through and show us, scene 1, intro, narrative, and the video. So here we know that we're going to have a input, more than likely coming in from the computer. And it could be whatever you choose it to be, but this is your first heads up on what you need to have active in that first snippet. Okay? And as we go through here and look at this, and we don't have to look at all of this, but we can see right here that the music starts and John the Baptist enters and he's yelling. So we know that John the Baptist, whoever's playing that part, that microphone, any effects going to that microphone or inputs, regardless of what it is, all of that needs to be saved for this snippet. And here we go. Scene 2, John the Baptist. The music slowly fades in, and then John the Baptist enters center aisle. So again, we know we're going to have music coming in for an input, and that John the Baptist here, repent for the kingdom of heaven is at hand, to the audience. So we know that that microphone needs to be active. And then you just go back and forth as you read this script, and you go in and you say, okay, that, right now the music needs to be unmuted. John the Baptist, that input needs to be unmuted. And everything that goes through this, as you're looking at it, you're just going to start thinking to yourself, what channels do I need active? What effects do I need on those channels? And what DCAs are we going to assign those to? Okay, so now let's go back over into X32 Edit, and let's just take a look and see exactly what we're going to do. So here we go. Now, the very first thing we want to do is create the master scene. All of our inputs, everything labeled the way that it should be. Okay, all of our scribble strips up here, so we know exactly what we're working with. All our channel strip processing has been done. And you can do this as you start to build your snippets, because that's what we want. We want these to change from act to act. Now, as you can see right now, we have DCA group number 3 assigned here. Number 1 for the PC right and left. Now, this is what we were talking about before. Here's our auxiliary 3 coming in of card number 3. That's our computer. That's the way we're bringing it in. Now, you can use your user ends for this. It's totally up to you. But if we go back up to routing here and we go to our inputs, you'll see right here we've done the aux in remapping from the card 1 through 6. That's it. The card is exactly the same as the inputs. Now, the AES50, I've got it set back here on default. I know that MailRay uses a streaming mixer. So if you wanted to send these channels to that second mixer, you can do that, but this has nothing to do now with setting up our snippets for the master scene. So we're not using any user ins and user outs. Okay? So, remember we talked about scene 1, the narrator. Well, that's the booth right there. So they've got the narrator sitting in the sound booth, and then they've got the audio coming in from the PC left and PC right. And then over here, Pastor Phil, his mic is active. So as you can see over here, we have the DCA set up, and we can check this several ways. Here, I'm just looking right here, number 2. If we go up here to main, we can see that DCA group 1. Let me take this off here. Over here on the PC left and right is on that. If we come over here to Pastor Phil, we can see that he's on DCA group number 2. Okay, so if we come down here to my user 1, we can see that these are the only 3 DCAs that we're going to be working with for this first act. Okay, so if we come up here to our scenes now, and as you can see, I am connected right up here to the mixer. I'm using the X32 rack. This works for any XM32 mixer. Now, what I found is it is just easier to click all when you start building these snippets, because we want to save any changes we make all the way through there, from our DCA groups over here to our left and right or our center mono channels, all of our matrix, all of our buses. Remember now, we're going to be using some sends over here on these channels for the house group, the praise and worship team. And if you're running front of house, what you see up here as far as the pre-show and these acts right here, this could be band number 1, band number 2, you know, band number 3, and all the way down. You can save the effects you want to apply to those individual acts. You can save anything that you want to simply by selecting all on everything. Okay? So again, we're just simply going to load the pre-show now. I'm going to hit load and then enter on my keyboard. It does it instantly. And that's where we are. So if we come to the welcome now, this is the, you're sitting there looking at your cue sheet, your script, and you say, okay, well, the pre-show, that's over with now. They're queuing up the lights, and all of a sudden you come into the welcome, and you go load and enter. Look what happened. Look right down here, okay? The mutes and the DCAs from 1 to 3. So let's go back to pre-show and load it. Keep your eye on these mutes down here. You see where it unmuted right here? Okay, so we go to welcome, we hit load, and then boom. So now this DCA right here is totally dropped out of the picture. So now, as the mixing engineer, we only have to concentrate on these 2 DCAs. That's it. Okay? Even if we come back up to the mixer up here, as you can see, let's do this again. And guys, I apologize. I'm just now got this script this morning. And I think, let me see over here. Yeah, this is Pastor Phil here on channel 26. And then we have the PC coming in. If I load that real fast, I think those are going to stay the same. No, the booth. As you can see, the booth unmuted. So we come back into the welcome. We load it. Look right down here now. You see, the booth has now muted itself. The person doing the narration, they're not active at this time. So if we go to Act 1 and we hit load and we go enter, now we can see right here that these 2, now the PC has muted itself. And everything here is now muted. But if we come over here to our auxiliary inputs, now we can see that we're bringing in audio from the iPads. So this is how you do your snippet. On Act number 1, we figure out what we're going to bring in, what effects we want to go to those inputs, and we mute everything else. And then when we get that done, we come up here and we save it as a snippet. And it's going to ask me to override it. I'm not going to override it, but you name it whatever you're going to be able to remember it as. Okay? So now we're done with that. So now we go over here and we go, okay, welcome. Let's load that. Now we can see by scene number 2, our welcome, that we're going to be using the computer. Pastor Phil's going to have his wireless mic because that's what the script told us it was going to do. So we assign these to the DCAs. So again, all we have here is our 2 DCAs that we're going to be using. So when we get finished with that layout, then we come in here and we start manipulating these again. And we say, okay, well, what are we going to be doing here? Or what, what sound, what channels do we want to open up? What's going to be going on? What effects do we want to apply? As you can see here, these are muted here. If I go in here again to the snippets, pre-show, and load, watch these effects down here. You see those 2 right there? They just muted themselves. They don't want these effects on that. And that's what it is. You take what you want on each snippet. Remember, the first step, create the master scene and label everything. And then start reading your script. Go through every single thing you want to change on your board, on your inputs, your outputs, your FX, everything. And then go up here to your scenes. Now, as you can see over here, I'm on mixer snippets. So this is actually saving these to my rack. So now I'm just simply going to come over here to the DCAs and just watch this. As I go through here and just load these, watch these DCAs change. You see it right there? We just muted that DCA. Act 1, load it. Now all of those are muted. So we don't have anything coming in through a DCA, but we do have it coming in through the iPad. We go into the intro, we load it. Now we're back to these two, the PCA and Pastor Phil. We go to John the Baptist, we load it. As you can see, John the Baptist now has come on with this DCA number 2 and the PC. Now we go to Act 6, or however you want to lay it out. We load it. Now look at that. This one is now muted. The PCA, the DCA2 is muted, DCA1 with the PC, and then Peter, Eric, John, Brian, James, and Matthew are now unmuted, and their DCAs are now active. Okay, we go into the miracles. Now, everything is active except the last DCA number 8. We go to scene, and I apologize, guys, when I'm saying scene, remember, we're talking theater now. You know, scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, not the actual scenes that we think of as in our mixers. So we just simply say load and say okay. And now we're back to these DCAs 1 through 6 being active and 7 and 8 now being muted. Now it doesn't matter what bank I'm in here. I can be in the mixer view. And all of these right here are going to show the same thing. Okay? Look at this channel 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, and 19 unmuted. Okay? The adulteress, channel 25, unmuted. Everything else is muted. So if I come up here to the same thing and I go back to the pre-show and I load it, all these channels come right back down to being muted. Okay? And that's it. That's really how easy it is to do. And as far as my user 1, I simply came up here and clicked edit and just added in all my DCA groups right here. Okay? So I hope this has helped. I hope you can take this. I hope I've made it plain enough or clear enough just how simple it is to work with snippets. When we go back in by clicking Save All, we are saving everything, our head amp configurations. Again, if you're going to be running different bands coming through the venue, you want to have different input gain settings for one band than you would for another band. So you want to save that parameter. Okay, your bus sends. When you set up their in-ear monitors, you want to save all of this. Your monitors, your talkback, your routing, your outpatching, user in, user out, all your effects, all your channels. Now, if you're just using a rack, if this is a smaller play, then you can choose all because that's the 16 inputs you have, and you can take this one off. Okay? For me, guys, it's just easier to select all. And when you do that, you can literally go from whatever scene you want to. Okay? To the next one simply by loading that snippet. And that's it. All right? I hope it's helped. Take care. God bless. And we are out of here.